Okay.
without any further ado, we can dive in to the nectar of Krishna consciousness.
Oh,
Nama Om Vishnu Pathaya Krishna Vishtaya Bhutale Shemati Bhakti Vedanta Swamti Namane Namaste Sarasati Devi Gauravani Chaline Nirasheshashunyavari Pashtatara Sataline Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay, excuse me. Oh, okay. So let's look who has a textbook. I think Mother Chandravali, you have the textbook. Normally I read, and when I get exhausted, I hand it over to Mother Chandravali. If anybody else has the book, you can please let us know if you like to read. You can hear me, Mother Chandravali?
yeah.
Okay, great. So press the record button, set the prayers to Prabhupada. We're ready to go. Let's set the ship a sail. So page 772, right at the bottom. And we're getting quite, it's a bit, yes, some nice things are being revealed about the ultimate goal, the ultimate meditation of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, which I'm sure we're aware of now. It points towards the gopis, points towards Radharani, then ultimately it's pointing towards the Manjaris. I'm sure we're familiar with that, about Gaudiya Vaishnav lineage. It's mainly our acharyas are coming in that line. So Maharaj is speaking about that and the significance for us, yeah, as their followers. Yeah. Okay, Hare Krishna, 772. Okay, let me step back a bit to give you some context. Where to step back? Every time I go back, I only go back further. We need to read from the beginning of the book to give you the context of this.
Right. Yeah.
No, let's okay, we're speaking about Manjari Bhav, okay? So we're the Gopi Bhava Club tonight. Okay. Okay. Why is the mood of the Manjari sweeter and more advantageous than that of a Gopi friend like Vishaka? Yeah, so there's two words here. Remember it? Sambandha and Sambandha, Anuruga, and Tat Kama. I have to look at those terms again. But there's those gopis who directly exchange with Krishna in a Ras Leela, for example. They dance with him. They exchanges with Krishna directly. And then there's those gopis which don't have direct exchange with Krishna, but they're devoted to the gopis, and they're the young manjaris, and they're serving Radha and Krishna often in a more intimate way than even the Sakis. Yeah. And their mood is described as, and in that regard, is considered to be more sweeter. You follow? It's more sweeter because it's because they get to serve Radharani in ways that the Sakis can't, and we'll hear about that. Okay, so the role of a maidservant places Manjaris in a subordinate position in which Radha allows them to do service that she will not accept from her girlfriends. So as I was mentioning, such as massaging her feet. Moreover, in many ways, a servant becomes more intimate than a friend. When Radha and Krishna are in a secluded grove sharing confidential pastimes, only the Manjaris and not other gopis have access to their service. The reason is that in some circumstances, Sri Radha will be shy before her friends. It's one of the qualities of Radharani, that she's shy, you know. Whereas she is not shy before her maidservants. As a result, the manjaris are dependent on and maintained by Sri Radha, and so they are also referred to as Palyadasi. Thakur Bhaktivinoda sings Vishabhanu Sutta Charana Shevani Hoibo Ye Palyadashi, to serve the lotus feet of the charming daughter of King Vishabhanu. I will become her sheltered maidservant. Unquote. Indeed, this Palyadasi identity is one of the 11 essential traits of a manjari's perfection. In consideration of these factors, it is clear that the manjari's role as a servant, dependent and confident, is full of pastimes and moods of sweetness that the other gopis do not share. So these, I don't know if Marge is going to list it here, the actual 12 traits of a manjari. Let's just have a look. Can't see it immediately. But for example, one of them is to bring the couple together. For instance, when Radharani is in a man, when she's exhibiting anger towards Krishna and refuses to have anything to do with him, Krishna will go to the manjaris and beg them to intercede. So, and also sometimes when Radha and Krishna meet, Radharani is so overwhelmed with emotion and shyness that sometimes it interrupts her approaching Krishna. She becomes overwhelmed. So the manjaris will then speak, act, and serve in such a way that the couple can come together. Yeah, so that's one of the services of the manjaris. For instance, Rati Manjari, she's a servant of Radharani, and she helps to assist Radharani in the morning, her bathing and dressing, and she will speak of, while she's dressing, she will speak of Krishna and Krishna's pastimes with Radharani to keep Radharani all, because Radharani, the tendency is when she's not in direct association for Krishna, she can become devastated with feelings of separation. So Rati Manjari's service is to keep speaking of topics of Krishna, just to keep Radharani from not drowning in the ocean of separation. So she will speak about Krishna and remind Radharani, well, she doesn't need reminding, like that. So they have different, they bring the couple together and they, like that. All right. Any questions or comments, please feel free to share. Okay. The role of a manjari is also more advantageous than that of a Saki because their love for Krishna is transcendently more chaste. Okay. Yeah. While Radha's friends indulge in physical contact with Krishna, the manjaris spurn all his advances, thinking themselves Radha's exclusive property. One may think that this virtue is at the cost of being denied the bliss of Krishna's touch. But no, the manjari's utter dependence on Sri Radha creates a connection with her that even at a distance, they experience Radha's every ecstasy of union with him. Therefore, Das Goswami thinks, quote, why should I settle for a lesser pleasure of being Radha's friend when I can taste the greater pleasure of being her maidservant? Yeah, so they are not amiss of any of the ecstasy. In fact, because of their mood, because of their such sweet mood in serving Radha, they share her ecstasies in relationship to Krishna, but they share it through Radha. Yes. Okay. In his external conduct, a sadhaka is known as a Rupanuga, a follower of Rupa Goswami. In his maturing identity as a Manjari, he continues in a Rupanuga mold, but now as a follower of Rupa Manjari, Thus, both internally and externally, he takes guidance from Sri Rupa, always thinking Rupa Manjari Mukasta Dashika Shamshraye. I take shelter of those maidservants who have Rupa Goswami as their leader. So Rupa Manjari, she's the leader of the Manjaris. Yeah. And that is Rupa Goswami. So internally, both internally and externally. Yeah. Yeah. So internally means they're absorbed in the memory and inspiration of Rupa Manjari and the other Manjaris, and externally, they will follow similar, or they will follow like Rupa Goswami. Yeah, do you follow? Rupa Goswami, they would like his sadhak form. There's his siddha form, which is Rupa Manjari. So they will follow that internally, if I've got this correct, internally inspired by Rupa Manjari. And externally, they will follow Rupa Manjari in the form of in her sadhak form as Rupa Goswami. Yeah. I take shelter of those maidservants. That's one of the reasons we are known as Rupanugas. You heard this before?
Yeah.
Rupanugas. That's one of the reasons why we're known as Rupanugas, followers of Rupa Goswami, because we're followers of Rupa Manjari. So Rupa Goswami is the leader. Yeah. In honoring the mood and goal of our sadhana, we have, so this is Raganuga sadhana, okay? This is Raganuga, it's not, that's what's being described here. Advanced stages of devotional service, you know. The sadhana, the actual practice of someone who's aspiring to enter as a Manjari, yeah, or to serve Radharani in that way. So this is their sadhana, Rupanuga, yeah. In honoring the mood and goal of our sadhana, we have come to its general conclusion, which is that a serious practitioner will follow the young maidservants of Sri Radha. The general mood and goal are sufficient to make the transition from samadhi to bhava panadas. Krishna willing. So this samadhi, this is the different levels of smaran, which devotees enter into through their bhajan. So samadhi is complete absorption and spiritualization. And then bhava panadas is actually obtaining the lotus feet of the divine couple, attaining perfection. Yeah. Having done so, the more specific aspects of one's sarup become increasingly manifest with continuous cultivation at bhava. Okay, so it's a step down. Yeah. Any questions? I can ask questions. I can hardly understand what I'm reading, but yeah. So at the stage of
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, do
yes,
you mind reading that little bit again, Prabhu? I missed something.
just go back. Yeah, just go back one sentence. You mean?
Yeah, two.
Okay. Okay. This general mood and goal, that means Manjari, Bhav, are sufficient to make the transition from samadhi to bhavapana. So yeah, so bhavapana means the stage of bhava. Okay. One obtains a ray of prema that touches one's heart, and one becomes more or less spiritualized.
Okay.
And at that point, more specific details is being revealed and becomes known to the sadhaka of their eternal relationship with Krishna. And then they cultivate that which they have insight to. Then they cultivate that mood. So that's yeah. The more specific aspects of one's surup become increasingly manifest with continued cultivation of bhava. Yes, with a similar process of thinking, a devotee may conclude that he desires to be in another mellow, that of a young friend or older parent of Krishna. However, that conclusion will respect the preeminence of the conjugal mellow and will be based on the instructions Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave to Rupa Goswami in Prayag. Okay, let me read that again. With a similar process of thinking, a devotee may conclude that he desires to be in another. Another mellow. All right, so they may develop and be inspired by Sakiras. Okay, we got that. But because, however, that conclusion will respect the preeminence. Yes, quite. So all devotion flows from Radha. And the gopis, they have all the moods of the other subordinate mellows, but Saliras for Krishna or Radha, friendship, obviously, but servitorship. Yeah, they have that. So it's all flowing from the gopis. So if one is developing Sakiras, still they will have great respect for the preeminence of conjugal mellow. Because you got the servants of Krishna, but the most intimate and most dear servants are the gopis. Yeah.
Can I ask something quick? Jump quick.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, the servants of Krishna, yeah, but to go more a bit higher and close to the service, to get in that service, you need to start following what you're going to be inspired in your heart, where you're going to be in the future. I don't formulate it correctly. Like a tree. There is a tree.
Yeah, that's what it's saying. So that's the idea. As one develops in their spiritual practice, their meditation becomes more pacific, and their desire becomes more pacific. Rather than just going back to Godhead, they want to go back and serve in a pacific mood of one of the residents of Vrindavan.
But to get there, you need to be helped by someone.
Yeah,
let's say like this, to jump the queue from the back of the queue or in the middle of it's not a queue. I'm just making to help my mind.
Yeah,
like, because you need to follow a Vrajabasi or someone who is close to achieve that.
Yeah, basically, yes. Yeah, we can't directly go to Radha Krishna. We have to go through their servants. And the first call in that regard is the spiritual master.
Yeah.
He will give guidance, or he may direct you to someone who can give guidance, or you may take guidance from the spiritual master. And then, and as one advances, the need for guidance becomes more prominent, actually. The need for guidance and instruction, especially on the mellows of expressions of bhav and devotion. It has to be nauseanced. Nauseant is the right word, but it has to be guided by Diksha or Shiksha gurus, So that's correct, Madhu Mangalpur. Yeah.
It depends who has that mood. You need to, let's say, look after the devotees or be guided by your spiritual master who has that mood which you like, not like, but which you are inclined.
Yes, that is correct. Generally, to aspire for Manchari Bhav, and if one's practicing at the level of Raganuga Sudden, then one was going to hear from and take direction from someone in the same mood. So it might be sometimes you might see in the Goswami's literature, sometimes you might see that one spiritual master will direct his dependent to another spiritual master to take shiksha from, because he's in a mood similar to that disciple. Yeah. It's quite, yeah. Hopefully,
Okay.
these are the, actually, my Guru Maharaj actually mentioned, he mentioned when it means taking shiksha, when you take shiksha, shiksha means this type of shiksha in its true sense of the term. It means you're inquiring about your eternal service to Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like, yeah, hopefully at some point we start asking our spiritual masters these type of questions at some point in our spiritual life, or shiksha or diksha gurus, rather than, oh, Maharaj, how can I chant my 16 rounds? I'm struggling with trying to chant 16 rounds. Or, these are the type of questions which hopefully at some point in our spiritual development will become burning for us, burning issues. And we want to ask questions, based on what we're realizing in our bhajan, in our chanting. Yeah, because it's quite subtle that we may make mistakes at this stage. It's all very internal. It's all based on emotion. So we want to be sure we're developing in the correct way, and etc.
I know it says that we need to be
Yes.
humble with whatever service we receive, and we should accept any service. But I think in one point it's becoming more deeper that we need to aspire to just go a bit further.
Yeah, we have to go
Yeah.
further.
Yeah.
Yeah, be more
Yeah.
deeper. It's okay.
I think you'll be guided
Oh,
from within, won't you?
thank you, Prabhu.
Like Krishna will guide you from within. Like service
Yeah.
life as well. Like there's so many different services leading to Krishna. But
Yeah. So
some get inspired book distribution, cooking, cleaning.
yeah. That's it. Yeah.
So then you will go along that path, and from there on, Krishna from within will guide you.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
You
correct. So
What they
one
wait
second, Mata. Let Chandravali finish. Yeah.
no, I'm not speaking.
Okay. Yeah. So generally you will be inspired by directly by the holy name, by Krishna within the heart. But still, what you are inspired by and what you envision and what you experience, then you want to have someone you can speak to about that.
Yeah.
And that should be, and these things will be super confidential.
Yeah.
Only you and your spiritual master. That's yeah. Well, no, it's not something one makes public. But yeah, so you feel inspired in a certain way, but then you want to speak it through with your spiritual master. Oh, I'm feeling like this. I'm inspired like this. I'm inspired like that. Can I think like this? Can I meditate like that? During my bhajan, is it okay if I meditate like this, meditate like that? Yeah. And yeah. Fortunately, although I guess he's my spiritual master, but I have to say, fortunately, Shivaram Swami Maharaj, this is his mission, is for us to take this type of guidance under the shelter of Prabhupada's ISKCON society. Everything's there. So the mistake of some people in the past is to think that to get this type of instruction at this level, then you can't find it within ISKCON. That's complete nonsense.
It's everything in the book.
So Maharaj is writing all this. So Maharaj is studying all the books of the Goswamis, and he's writing in such a way to make it relevant to devotees in international society for Krishna consciousness. So if devotees want to know about Raganuga Bhakti and they're inspired about the science of Raganuga Bhakti, they can read books which are chaste to our ISKCON society and to Srila Prabhupada. Because often you may be inspired to find out about this, and you may read books by other, which are outside of ISKCON, and grossly or subtly, they may be critical of our ISKCON society. So that's why Maharaj, I could say, he's doing a wonderful service for our ISKCON society. For instance, in giving the pastimes of Krishna. Over and above, that's what found in Krishna book. There's so many pastimes. Krishna book is super excellent, but there's also wonderful pastimes unlimited pastimes of Radha and Krishna written by the Goswamis. So those pastimes are now available to us without us having to step outside of our family, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Bit of a
Yeah,
plug.
Prabhu, I have a
Raj's
question
books.
now.
Yes. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. You just said something which I was thinking about,
Okay.
honestly,
Great.
and on your conversation, and also, Prabhu, I want to ask, like, in case, like, of course, my Guru Maharaj, it is not possible to meet my Guru Maharaj or speak
Yeah.
to him.
Mm.
Just an example. So, what is next for me?
Yeah, then there should be, Raj would have some senior disciples. You should identify some senior disciples of Maharaj. He has sannyasi disciples, you know, and they're very,
Yes.
you know, they've been practicing Krishna consciousness very long. So that's one. Yeah. Yeah, you did. So that's one way you can go. I'm sure there's a
Okay.
system of shiksha being established as far as Jayapataka Maharaj's disciples go. I'm sure everyone's understood by now that Maharaj has so many disciples. How's there? And one day he's going
Yeah.
to go back to, you know, he's going to leave the world. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think we read that we will never be without guidance. Krishna will inspire us and Krishna will provide us with the guidance that we need at each stage of our devotional development. Yeah. Krishna will make arrangement
Okay.
that we meet someone that we
Okay.
come in
In
contact like that, you know?
Okay. Prabhu, in case I'm not referring to a situation or
Yeah.
about myself. In case if someone get inspired within ISKCON, but when that means taking shiksha from another Maharaj,
Yeah.
will so that should be approved by the Maharaj, your Diksha Maharaj. Is that right, Prabhu?
Yeah, there isn't anything wrong with that at all. Sometimes the preeminent director or your inspiration may not be your Diksha Guru, it may be a Shiksha Guru. But yet to get is this, that you get blessings from your Diksha Guru and the teachings that you hear from the Shiksha Guru, then you will relay also to the Diksha Guru if you get the opportunity. But they're basically ethics. So it may be you take initiation from So Maharaj, and 6 years later down the line, you may be super inspired by another Diksha Guru or Shiksha Guru, and you find yourself just hearing from them more. There isn't anything wrong with that. Sometimes it may be like that, it may not be like that. Someone may just hear from the Diksha Guru, but sometimes you may get inspiration from other Shiksha or Diksha Gurus. But then you do it with permission from your spiritual master.
Okay.
Like I remember a few
Understood.
years ago, I wrote to my spiritual master and I listed all his god brothers who inspire me and who I ask questions to, and he was very happy, like that.
Oh,
It's okay.
okay. Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
Prabhu. Thank
So
you.
it doesn't mean something's going wrong. It's just sometimes it's just natural. You may, you may get inspired by other Vaishnavas, but you're never, never, never disrespectful to your guru. You Diksha Guru, you hold him in the highest regard, and it's by his blessings that you will be able to seek instructions and direction from other Vaishnavas. You do not look down upon your guru. That would be the end of your spiritual life. Only we can hold him with great esteem and respect and take his direction for taking shiksha from other shiksha gurus, shiksha diksha gurus. Yeah. Am I my grandma's written a book about that as well. It's called Shiksha Guru. You may read it there. All these details. Small book. All right. Any other questions on this interesting subject?
Where it is available, Prabhu?
You can find it. It's available. It's a small book. Shiksha Guru. It should be in the usual avenues. I think they will sell it in their shop. Otherwise, look on my Guru Maharaj's website, shivaramswami.com, and you can get the books delivered to your front door.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
Maybe
thank you.
Amazon probably.
Amazon. Yeah.
Easy.
Amazon. Yeah, okay.
Shiksha Guru. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Should we read a bit more? Is there any other questions at all on this subject? Yeah. Often you see that in Chaitanya Charitamrita where devotees will be guided to other devotees for a specific type of shiksha. Yeah, specific type of spiritual guidance. They will go and seek a specific guru to get specific type of instruction. And they will do it under the direction of their Diksha Guru. Sometimes that happens. So the natural progression of a devotee's internal meditation blossoms with the fragrance of many pastimes of service to the divine couple. Excuse me. Malayan breezes carry the aroma of sandalwood over mountains, through forests and across waters. Similarly, divine fate carries Radha and Krishna through pastimes of love, from the nicely poetically written, isn't it? Through the caves of Govardhan, through the groves of Yamuna, to the waters of Radha's lake. In a meditation undeterred by either external circumstances or his external identity as samadhi, always retaining his identification as a maidservant, the sadhaka merges into these pastimes in a way that rivers flow into the ocean. Wow, sounds so nice, isn't it? We can pray for such a thing at some point. So yeah, at this stage, devotees always there internally, that they only identify themselves as a maidservant. And they lose, although they're in the material world, they do not identify with it or their body or any of the relationships related to the body. They only relate to themselves as a maidservant of Radharani. Yeah, but this is their internal disposition. Surrounding the shore of fragrant Radha Kund are charming groves filled with the pleasing sounds of birds and bees. In the courtyard of one grove, Radha and Krishna share humorous talks with their girlfriends. The echo of their laughter further ornaments the forest gardens. When the rays of the sun become excessive, Krishna entices Radha and her passionate friends to join him in water sports, and the waves from their splashing mix with the waves of their laughter. This you can find in Krishna book. Yeah. Creating high tide in the ocean of their pastimes. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became so absorbed in this pastime that he envisioned himself to be one of the manjaris here. It's an interesting pastime there where he envisions himself as a manjari, although he's Radha. Yeah. To embrace Radha Krishna's noonday pastimes is to submerge in an ecstasy 1,000 times greater than the bliss of the nocturnal rasa dance by the Jamuna's shore. Okay, so the noontime pastimes, those pastimes which take place in and around Radha Kund, are considered to submerge in a higher ecstasy than a Rasalila. Okay. This is the opinion of our acharyas, named after a girl who was a dancing arena of divine love for the moon of Raj, a girl who is the crown jewel of celestial gopis. Radha Kund is the shelter of the followers of Rupa Manjari. To that fragrant lake which is filled with waters of pure love, a sadhaka ardently prays. So Maharaj quotes now, quote, "For the eager person who bathes in its fragrant waters, Radhakund immediately creates in the land of the heart a desire tree of pure love, where even among the gopi beloveds of Mura's enemy, may that diadem of Raj be my shelter. So that a diadem is a crown, I think, yeah. Unquote. Because Raj Bhakti is the most desirable attainment, Jiva Goswami enjoins all sadhakas to cultivate it to the stage of samadhi. And because Madhurya Bhav is the preeminent mood of service to the son of Nanda Maharaj, it is the mellow of devotion most glorified by scriptures and saints and most preferred by practitioners. If, however, a sadhu becomes sensually agitated while hearing about the gopis, then he should leave aside such meditation in favor of those pastimes for which he has qualification and inclination. The same course of action should be taken if a devotee is more attracted to pastimes of Krishna's childhood or boyhood. He should meditate on pastimes that correspond to his attachment and not intrude into the confidential exchanges of love between Krishna and his beloveds. Such misconduct will result in a conflict of mellows and an obstacle to Nam Bhajan. This is the final teaching of Bhakti Sandarbha, by Jiva Goswami. Okay, any questions on that? Otherwise,
Wow.
yeah. Wow, that's, wow. I perhaps at this point hand
I
over
think
the reading to
I was thinking, Prabhu, once you read, we want to hear again the same sentence to understand again, at least 3 times. We will little understand, little bit even.
Yeah, so it goes into layers, you read once and then I find it so nice. Sometimes I read books, I read books like this, then I come back to it a year later or a few months later and I read it again, and then you enter into another level. You kind of
No,
break
no, no.
another layer. It's
Not after
different.
same moment. I think I have to read again and again to understand what is this.
Yeah, but still, don't underestimate yourself just by hearing and taking part in these readings and the questions and the discussion we're having. Some things we are going away with, for sure. Some things we are taking note of, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, Marge mentions the last paragraph here, as is often mentioned. One has to be careful as one is going forward in spiritual life, that you're not going forward too far, too fast. You're not taking bigger steps than what you should take. Yeah. So we should, yeah. All right, Mother Chandraval, you like to carry on reading from here
Okay.
in the preceding pages? Yeah. Oh, the last page. We're going to finish this. We're going to finish this chapter. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the preceding pages, we have charted a course for Smarana Sadhaka. It is not the only course, but the one described and practiced by most of our acharyas and many of their followers. It is their understanding of the conclusive teaching of Srimad Bhagavatam. As a devotee engages in Nam Bhajan, he must follow a similar cultivation which begins with an intellectual understanding at Smaran and become part of meditation at Dhyana. Thereafter, at Anushmiti and Samadhi, meditation transforms into a sense of identity, which the sadhaka ardently prays after to become a manifest reality. In time, by practicing the sadhana suited to his aspiration, a devotee attracts Krishna's mercy and is blessed with bhav. These are the sankalpas leading to divine grace. We have earlier quoted Srila Prabhupada's description of this path. We do so again.
Quote, yeah.
In this way, one becomes firmly fixed and gradually develops a taste for devotional service. The more the taste grows, the more one desires to render service to the Lord. In this way, one becomes attached to a particular mellow in the Lord's service, Santa Dasya Sakya Vatsalya or Madhurya. As a result of such attachment, bhav develops. Bhav Bhakti is a platform of purified goodness. By such purified goodness, one's heart melts in devotional service.
Okay, so Raj just summarized the whole chapter, the unquote. Then he's going to finish with 2 more paragraphs. And then
The journey is not easy, but at some point in his bhajan, a sadhaka meets with good fortune in the form of the grace of Krishna, which descends upon him in a way suited to divine fate. His bodily identification dwindling to nil, his spiritual identity a blossoming reality, a practicing devotee loses himself in the bliss of Krishna's pastime. His feeling of ecstasy rise and fall like the waves of on the sea. His eyes fill with tears of separation. His voice becomes hoarse from crying, and his heart yearns painfully for divine shelter. True to his word, Krishna gives his devotee admittance into the spiritual realm, and having attained Bhav Das, the sadhaka begins another journey through the enchanting forest garden of love of God. In that forest, he eventually encounters the divine couple and is given entrance into their pastime under the tutelage of their eternal associates. Having attained such a perfection, a devotee may take a final glance back to offer respects to the worshipable path of bhajana, which brought him to his destination. It was not an easy path. Still, free of doubt, fully convinced, he whispers, Yan labhatva chaparam labbam. Upon attaining this, there is no greater gain.
yeah, that's from the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And attaining this thing, there's no greater gain. That's wonderful verses in the 6th chapter which describe samadhi. Okay, so Maharaj gave a wonderful summary of this chapter, and this is the first chapter in the last part. The last part is all about, just to remind you about this, we're reading the last part, which is Sankalpas for divine grace. So that chapter was called the Sankalpas corresponding to grace. Now this chapter is called the Truths of Grace. Then a chapter after that is called Krishna's Grace Descends through Vaishnavas. Then the final chapter 40 is Attaining Krishna's Grace. So it's amazing. So much has been said in that chapter. It's difficult to imagine what else can possibly be said. But Maharaj is going to explain more. The truths of grace. Any questions or comments?
Prabhu, can I
Yes,
ask
you can.
which verse you are referring to, Prabhu? Sixth
This
chapter.
6th chapter. If you look in that trance called trance of samadhi, devotee's mind is completely fixed, and he thinks there's no greater gain. And upon gaining this, he thinks upon gaining, he thinks there's no greater gain. This indeed is freedom from all material miseries arising from material conduct. I can let you do a bit of research. You'll find it. It's 3 or 4 verses together, and it's in the 6th chapter.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sure Mataji want to help us.
Yeah, in that chapter you'll find. I mean, I was trying to learn those verses, but I didn't complete the learn. I mean, I forget it. I did know him, but that was a few years ago. So in the 6th chapter, you'll find these verses. His mind is completely restrained from material activities because of practice of yoga. In this position, he thinks there's no greater gain. Wonderful verses. It's all about samadhi. Yeah.
Regulated attains the highest kingdom of God and the abode of Krishna, sustain the material existence. This
It
plus
looks like we're going to have to. Can someone find those verses in 6th chapter and we can read them?
is that Yunjam Evam Sadatmanam. Is it the one, Babu?
Just start reading the translation. I'll tell you.
Okay. Oh no. Thus practicing constant control of the body, mind, and
No.
attitude. No.
Isn't
No.
this thing, yeah?
6th chapter. Let's see who can
Yeah.
find it first.
I'm on the sixth.
In that stage called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material activities because of practice of yoga.
This is the
Chapter
one. In
6.
the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's
Yeah,
mind
That's it.
completely.
You can read it for us. Yeah.
Oh yes, that is 3 verses together.
Yeah.
Yatro pranam
If you just read
sitam.
just read the translation.
Okay. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by
One's
one's ability
ability to see the
to see
self by the
self
pure self.
by
Gone.
the pure mind and to relish the rejoice in the self. In this joyous state, one is situated in
Boundless.
boundless transcendental happiness realized through
Yes.
transcendental senses established. Thus, one never departs
From
truth
the truth.
upon
And upon
gaining.
gaining this, he thinks there's no
There is
greater
no
gain.
greater.
Mm.
Being situated in such a position, one is never
Never
shaken,
shaken.
even, oh my Lord, that's even
Even
in
in the
the
midst of the greatest
of
difficulty.
greatest difficulty. Yes, this indeed is actual freedom from all miseries rising from material. Oh my God, this is so beautiful.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Thank you. Yeah.
Wonderful verse.
It
So
gives you a lot of hope,
yeah, so
lot
though
of peace.
yeah, it's interesting if you look at that, Krishna describes to Arjuna about samadhi, but the details of that samadhi for Gaudiya Vaishnava is given by our acharyas, Rupa Goswami, etc. Because Krishna doesn't go into the details of the samadhi like we're reading here, Manjari Bhav,
Yeah.
etc. But now reading deeper, we can understand what Krishna is actually speaking about in context with the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, you know. That's the samadhi of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Generally, is to be absorbed in the identity as a manjari. That is our samadhi that we generally aspire for. Either that or sakiras, generally. Yeah.
Prabhu, is the
Yeah.
Sankalpa Kaumudi chapter where you're reading, Prabhu? What is the
This
reference
is
for that? Can
what do you mean? What, the whole chapter?
yeah, what is the reference that I can keep it here?
Page 700 something.
Yeah, 776 is the last page of this chapter.
776 page.
Yeah. That's the end
Thank
of
you,
the chapter.
Prabhu.
You need to buy the book, Mataji.
I'm being honest, it's a shame to say I have a book. It's in somewhere in storage.
All right, so let's have a little peek into chapter 38, shall we? The truths of grace. It's only 5 or 6 minutes left, but let's make the most of it. Let's start reading this chapter.
I was just thinking that
Please,
paragraph,
Go on.
journey is not easy.
Yeah.
That like summarizes, like your body identity starts dwindling, the spiritual identity starts blossoming, and the practicing devotee loses himself in bliss of Krishna. How
Yeah.
you have the changes is coming in.
Yeah.
It's just, and you look back, and the journey's been painful, but
Yeah.
it's so blissful to be where you are.
Yeah.
I was
That's
thinking
nice.
from our lives, you can also see that, how we started, what we're thinking, and well, we matured a little bit. You can just see the same thing. And as we hope to mature more by practicing,
Yeah.
Mm.
you can see how you can really understand that paragraph. You know,
Yeah. So nice.
we'll get
Yeah.
there. It's hard going because you really got to put a lot of effort into it.
Mm.
But
And sometimes the path may be, sometimes one may become diverted from the path and then have to, you know, again, pick up oneself, brush oneself down and apply oneself again. Different challenges in life. Sometimes in our life, we find ourselves being more focused on our bhajan and our chanting. Other times we'll be distracted with family, perhaps divorce or whatever, or catastrophes, and we might lose. Although we do our basic chanting, we may be distracted, and then at some point in the life, things become more clear, and again we become more absorbed. You know, children grow old, they grow up, and they move out, and you find yourself doing more bhajan. There may be more challenges coming. You may get distracted and distraught by the leaving of someone you have hold very dear, and so many different challenges. But then, yeah, as Mother Chandival is nicely pointing out, but at this stage, everything is so, what one experiences is so profound and so overwhelming and so real that everything seems worth it. Every part of my life, to actually experience what I'm experiencing now, I thank everything that's happened in the past to actually bring me to this point. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there's one bhajan he explains like that. Every difficulty he sees as a stepping stone towards what he's experiencing, and he offers his obeisances to whatever it was that brought me to this path, whatever difficulties I had to face in order for me to more determined to obtain the goal, etc.
And the thing is that, you know, the difficulties you go through, at the end, your faith in Krishna increases because you can then see how Krishna was there for you.
Yeah.
You know, you can sit back and think, wow, he took me to the top of the hill, a mountain, and I was just going to fall down to nothing, and then he picks you up.
Yeah. In the retrospect,
everyone
knows
at the right time. Yes.
Everyone knows that story, Footsteps in the Sand. I'm sure we know that story. Wonderful story. Anyone know it? Say aye if you know it. Say yes.
Which one?
I think, is it the one that you saw only 2 steps? Is it the one, Prabhu?
Yeah,
When
that's
you
the
look
one.
back, you saw only 2 steps.
And
the one which was the video in Bhakti Vedanta Manor. They made a video a long time ago. When
okay, so you know it. So it may seem sometimes that that God is silent, that Krishna is at a distance, but it may be that he's carrying us at that time.
Yeah.
He's carrying us at that time when we thought. So yeah, so upon retrospect, we often can see Krishna and our lives in retrospect. Because sometimes what we're going through is so confusing and so disturbing to us that we may not be able to make sense of it. Why? It's not fair. Why is this happening? Etc. And we just cannot work it out. It's something we cannot work out. The why froms or the where froms. Why am I being treated like this? Why is this happening? You know. But Krishna's there in our life, so he's arranging things, so we learn certain lessons. And at some point, he will reveal in our heart that. Sorry,
and also
sorry,
I was thinking he is explaining how to get detached with the problem also. Even you have a difficulty, sometimes you have a misunderstanding. Okay, you're writing something, your intentions are very clear, but somebody just throw you off. Can be a devotee or any. And then I thought, oh my God, what is okay? I don't want to be like this. I don't want to be the same like what you're writing. Okay, Lord, you know what I want, and I'm just folding my hands. That's it. So I feel Lord is allowing you to be detached. Sorry.
Yeah. Any devotee who faces this material world cannot but not come away with the quality of detachment. It's such an abominable place. There's so many unpleasant reversals that the only way to survive is just mentally to let go of it. It's to be
You let
detached.
go.
Yeah,
And so much peace you by detaching.
yeah,
The most tough lesson. I think it's the most tough lesson in my life to
yeah,
let
Yeah,
go.
it is
yeah.
tough. But you
But that
do,
will,
then you will feel.
but
If
like
I
as
have
been
known, it would have been easy.
but as being explained here, it has to be more than just mental gymnastics. It actually comes from realization of Krishna. Then we become
Yeah.
naturally detached because we can go through mental gymnastics
Yeah.
and imagine ourselves, try and imagine ourselves as not, stepping away and not really caring about that person. But to some degree, it'd be
No.
artificial. It keep coming back at us. But when we actually realize Krishna through the medium of the holy name and
Yeah.
bhajan and chanting, then we will naturally become detached. So it's an aspect of becoming Krishna conscious is to be detached. But still, we do it two
Yeah.
parts. We do the positive and a negative. So the positive
Mm.
is development of Krishna consciousness, but also we have to meditate upon the miseries of material existence as well. This will help to enhance and further solidify our being detached and make us steady on the path. You understand? So I think this is mentioned in the Ishopanishad, isn't it? One should directly and indirectly cultivate Krishna consciousness. So directly is hearing and chanting about Krishna, and indirectly is looking at the miseries of this material world. So both are there.
Yeah.
Didn't scare you, did I? All right. So
You should be conscious of being Krishna conscious.
yeah. All right. So we've overflowed, and I suppose good. We can start afresh next week on chapter 38, the truths of grace. I'm just looking how big this chapter is. It'll be interesting what's going to be in this chapter. As I've read this book a few times, it's amazing, as Mother Nitai Mata said, is each time you read it's as if it is anew. Yeah. Okay, so we'll stop
How
there.
long we have to go in this book?
How long?
Are we near to the end? No, I don't think so.
No, yeah, perhaps you joined a bit later, but we discussed that in the beginning. We're on the last 3 chapters. This is chapter
Okay.
38, and there's 40 chapters. So
Okay.
we're coming to the end. So we'll be lost after this. We'll have to decide. We was just discussing. We're just gonna one sec.
We can read